What is up, guys? It's your boy, the notorious DirtyD, aka the voice of the casual wrestling community, and this is the Casual Wrestling Community Show, where each and every week we defend pro wrestling from the geeks and basement dwellers of the IWC who overanalyze and destroy the purity of what we enjoy on a casual basis. If you're new here, welcome to the CWC. Checking in the comments with hashtag CWC and where you're repping from. If you're already CWC, the fight continues this week as we beat down some more neckbeard clowns who took to the internet to complain about the fallout from Elimination Chamber, CM Punk's status as legend, and Tiffany Stratton's babyface turn. So join me in bitch slapping the IWC back into the hole they crawled out from on this week's episode of the Casual Wrestling Community Show.
Notorious.
Big it up, big it up.
Man, is it good to be a WWE fan on this glorious Thursday in March. I told you guys there were two words this week, and a lot of you didn't want to listen. There were two words that were extremely important this week in wrestling. Those two words were patience and clarity. You must have patience to see the clarity. I told you there was a plan. I told you to quit worrying. I told you Triple H had a vision. Now, did I know that vision was going to completely flip the wrestling world upside down? No, but I knew that Triple H had a trick or two up his sleeves. Now, John Cena has sold his soul to the wrestling devil. John Cena sold his soul to the wrestling Illuminati. John Cena has just made his corny old ass the most relevant name in all of professional wrestling. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, John Cena, and Travis Scott just created the Illuminati of the WWE. And I told you, be patient. I think we said we're entering the next chapter. The bloodline chapter has shut. Thanos has arrived, and he snapped, and he turned our beloved John Babyface Cena into the biggest heel in all of pro wrestling in the year of 2025. On the eve of his farewell tour, John Cena did the unthinkable, and he's gone heel. What a day, what a day, what a week to be a casual wrestling fan. No overreactions. This is God honest truth. This is me speaking from the heart. Elimination Chamber 2025 was the single greatest premium live event I have ever witnessed in my life. That's not the case for everybody. I understand people are going to try to tear that apart. I'm talking about from just having fun watching an event, the sheer amount of joy, surprise, and fun that I had watching Elimination Chamber. I cannot remember another premium live event that hit home for DirtyD the way that Elimination Chamber hit home. Let's talk about Bianca wins the chamber, and now we're possibly getting some form of Bianca Belair, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, We Too Deep, for manifesting that for me. Thank you for speaking to the wrestling gods and putting Bianca Belair where she rightfully belongs, and that is in one of the main events of WrestleMania. Kevin Owens went on to destroy Sami Zayn in what may go down as possibly one of my favorite matches of all time. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I liked the no sanctions shit. I liked the lights being off. I liked the pacing of the match. I liked that we could do a hardcore match without everybody bleeding everywhere. That's just the way that's the kind of wrestling I like. Oh, and on top of that, Mr. Randy Orton returned to set up a WrestleMania showdown with my guy Kevin Owens. Yeah, I'm in. I'm all in on that. Oh, and on top of that, this is all in one night. Jade Cargill returned looking fantastic, might I add. But Jade Cargill returned in all of her glory to come out and destroy Naomi, setting the table for the beginning of the Jade Cargill singles era. Yeah, I'm in, guys. Now, you talk about Elimination Chamber being the perfect DirtyD show. Bianca, KO, Randy Orton, Jade Cargill. On top of that, Tiffany Stratton had a fantastic night. She looked incredible in the ring. She completed the babyface turn. And then to top it off, the cherry on top of everything, Mr. John Cena won the Elimination Chamber. And we all rolled our eyes. No, don't give us Cody versus Cena. Then The Rock hit us with one of these, slitting the throat, putting the two up in the air, watching John Cena's face change from that corny John Cena that we've known, that we've loved, and John Cena turned heel. Oh my God. I don't know that Elimination Chamber could have been any better for me than it was. I see a few people on the internet. I see a few people who have complained Roman Reigns didn't show up. But damn, hold on. Chill out, guys. Like, everything can't happen in one night. We will get to Roman's involvement in all of this in the next couple of weeks. Triple H doesn't want to, he don't want to give us all heart attacks. Triple H gave us a 4-course meal. He gave us everything we could stomach in one night. And now we have about 7 weeks to get to WrestleMania and tell this story and give it the proper room that it needs to breathe. Now, I know there's still people in the IWC who are going to talk their shit. They're going to speak their fallacies and their stories of falseness, and they're going to try to break apart maybe the greatest moment in professional wrestling history. But I, DirtyD, am here to be the voice of the casual wrestling community. I am here to defend one of the greatest weeks of wrestling ever. But let's start with clearing something up. I think that it is clear that on a weekly basis, we take some time to reflect as casual wrestling fans. I think as we move forward, the word clarity is oh so important in this day and age of professional wrestling. As the weeks progress, I would like to put forth a declaration of casual wrestling fandom. Maybe establish a set of rules that separate us from the swine, the unhygienic, the savage IWC. I think we need a constitution, a bill of rights of casual wrestling. So week after week, I'm going to present you with different rules. And by far the most important rule, commandment number 1 of the Casual Wrestling Declaration for casual wrestling fans is, we shall react, but not overreact. The impulse is always to overreact, to snap and jump to conclusions, but we as casual fans, we are more civilized than that. We can let things digest. We can hold on to our takes until they are well thought out with reason. We don't have to do these overreactions where we're immediately looking in a camera and holding our mouth or holding our eyes or crying. We don't need to do that. We don't need to be the fans who sold their souls to Tony Khan and Triple H. And you know who I'm talking about. You see them on TV on a weekly basis. That IWC shit that is just corny as fuck. Thank God, as casual wrestling fans, we have the self-dignity to react as normal human beings do. We don't have to do the immediate reactions to the camera in order to enjoy the product. And you, like I said, you guys know who I'm talking about. And I know the deep, dark, dirty secrets of these people because I got the email as well. I got the email from WWE asking me to sell my soul, and I said no. I got the email from WWE asking, can we use your content? And I said No, I'm not here to be a dancing monkey in your circus. I am a man of the casual people. I am a man who wants the autonomy to say and do what I want. I will not bite my tongue. I will not alter my opinion because I might lose my golden ticket to show up in the commercials in between matches on Monday Night Raw. That's not me. I react. I don't overreact. I will earn each and every casual fan's trust one day at a time. I will not take shortcuts. I will not take the short road. I will not sell my soul. One take at a time, one podcast at a time. And if I fail, I fail. I fail doing it my way with honor and dignity. So officially instated into the Declaration of Casual Wrestling Fans is Amendment number 1. We react. We don't overreact. Now, having said that, let's address some of these overreactions from the IWC this week.
Warning, the following take will offend the internet wrestling community. Viewer discretion is advised.
Starting with this unpopular opinion sent to me from We Too Deep. It says Bianca Belair is the most overpushed female superstar in WWE history. She's got great skills, but that does not mean that she has to be in the title picture all the time. She has been in WWE for so long, and I can't even remember one feud of Bianca where she was not in a title picture. If there is one quick way, if there is one immediate way to get on Dirty D's bad side, if there's an immediate way to trigger an emotional response from Dirty D, this is absolutely it, Wrestle Tracker. Do not disrespect the EST of the WWE, the one true babyface of all babyfaces, the single greatest women's wrestler in the WWE, Bianca Belair. Don't do it, Wrestle Tracker. I'm telling you, this will not end well. Now, overpushed. Are we watching the same show, my guy? Bianca's been toting the company line for the last 365 days. She's been sacrificing mind, body, and soul to completely place an inept tag team division on her shoulders and single-handedly walking them to the promised land of WrestleMania. She walked them all the way to WrestleMania 41, and when the time came, she's passed the baton over to Liv Morgan, and she's rightfully taken her place in one of the main events in WrestleMania 41. You're telling me you can't remember a time when she wasn't in a title picture? Well, guess what? That's because when you make yourself invaluable to a company, they have no choice but to put you front and center. This ain't a Bianca problem. This is an everybody else problem. You need to tell somebody else to step the fuck up, because Bianca Belair is the best option to be in a title situation as we walk into WrestleMania 41. Look at the rest of the roster. At best, Rhea Ripley is her equal. I won't make the argument there. I'm completely fine with that. Charlotte is an aging veteran. Becky Lynch, same boat as Charlotte. They tried to put the tag team titles on two unknown witches, and the audience went to sleep on the division, so they had to pull the trigger and drag Bianca Belair right back into the title picture. You're forgetting certain things here, Wrestle Tracker. There is no one more athletic on the women's side of the roster. Nobody has a better look than Bianca Belair. There's nobody running circles around Bianca Belair on the mic. She is the babyface of all babyfaces right now. There's Cody Rhodes and there's Bianca Belair. There's no two more marketable people in WWE. And being a consistent babyface in pro wrestling is a next to impossible task in the year 2025. Some would say that it is the curse of John Cena up until last week when he decided, I'm not doing that anymore. The idea that you have to continue to be relevant week in and week out without doing all the cheap, fun, heel dirt taunting the crowd, getting cheap pops. The fact that you have to stay relevant week after week doing the babyface shtick, very few can do it. And none can do it as long as Bianca Belair has at such a successful level. Let's not forget, Rhea Ripley needed the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio to get to the point where she's at. And that's no disrespect to Rhea Ripley. I am a huge fan of Mommy. But let's be realistic. Bianca got there by just grinding it out, win after win, loss after loss, match after match. Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, they're 1A and 1B right now. And that's the problem. When you have 1A and 1B, you have no choice until someone else steps up and challenges for that throne. You have no choice but to put those people in the prime matches. You look at the possible WrestleMania match that we're headed to in Las Vegas. You have the audacity to complain about this? Like, you have a problem with us doing Bianca Belair, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley. You tell me what you see that's a problem in that match. What am I missing, brother? There's something there for everybody. Because look, they're not ready to pull the trigger on a straight up Rihanna. Mixing names here. They're not ready to trigger the Rhea and Bianca feud until after WrestleMania. So they're going to give us the next best thing. And that is that they're going to tease it by throwing in Io Sky. And let me guess, Wrestle Tracker, you're one of those weird IWC guys with the anime fetish who wants Io Sky to have the spotlight all to herself. And you're bitter because you know the inevitable's about to happen. Bianca Belair's walking out of WrestleMania, your new WWE World Champion. And it's okay to admit you're sad, but we don't have to be a hater. You don't have to be a hater. There's a thing where you could just be upset without being a hater, but disrespecting the queen, the EST, the babyface of all babyfaces. We won't stand for that, Wrestle Tracker. You could take that pissant baby back bitch ass take and go cry in a dark corner of the internet, you weirdo. We don't take Bianca hate around here very well. Now, here's another take from someone who lately I began to listen to more, and the more I listen, the less I want to listen. This take comes from somebody in the IWC who clearly now I have established is a member of the IWC because they come in all shapes and sizes. This one just happens to be a part of the wrestling business, and this take comes from a Mr. Bully Ray.
Warning, the following take will offend the internet wrestling community. Viewer discretion is advised.
So Bully Ray says he doesn't see CM Punk as a legend in the WWE like a Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock or The Undertaker, quoted as saying, "I think he's a modern day legend." I don't even know if I can say legend. I mean, do you put CM Punk in the same conversation as a Steve Austin? If you think about it, it's just not an immediate yes. Bully, do you own a dictionary? Do you understand the meaning of the word legend? This is the problem when these content creators try to get cute and they try to give new meanings to words that already have definitions. It's like when all these content creators come out and say, well, this guy's one of the GOATs. No, there's not multiple GOATs. There's just one GOAT. There can only be one greatest of all time, and you have to pick a side of the fence. Is it Roman? Is it Cena? Is it Taker? Is it Austin? You get to have one. You can't say there's multiple GOATs. And Bully Ray, the word legend, it has a meaning. It has meaning. Grab a dictionary. The word legend, noun, an extremely famous or notorious person, especially in a particular field. There is no such thing as a modern day legend. You're either a legend or you're not a legend. Now, I understand WWE, they throw that term around extremely liberally and way too frequently. Like when they referred to Summer Rae as a WWE legend, I get it, Bully Ray. We can react to that, but come on, man. CM Punk, this comes across as extreme hate. This comes across as jealousy, my guy. Let's start with the nerdy shit that I hate to talk about. I hate to be a stat man. I hate to go into the numbers, but I think that it's necessary that you start every conversation by establishing the statistics of the conversation. And when we talk about CM Punk, remember we're talking about a 2-time WWE champion with one of those reigns lasting over 434 consecutive days. Now, place that against Stone Cold Steve Austin. His longest reign was 175 days, okay? Let's just play it here, devil's advocate here, Bully Ray. Your longest reign in TNA was 130 days. So CM Punk's reign about 4 times longer than what you could do in a third-rate wrestling company. All right? So then we move on to 3-time world heavyweight champion, which someone like me likes to lump all the world championships together. That makes him a 5-time world heavyweight champion. Then we can throw in 1-time ECW champion. We can throw in a 1-time Intercontinental champion. We could throw in a tag team champion. We could throw in a 2-time Money in the Bank winner. Oh, and on top of that, we can throw in the fact that he went to the other company, the second-rate wrestling company, and he won that title 2 times before most of their guys ever won it 1 time. So stats alone, Bully Ray, stats alone, you can make the argument CM Punk, absolute legend. But since I'm pretty decent with breaking things down with words, allow me to elaborate this in a more layman's terms. Legends are folktales. Okay, Bully Ray? They have a way of haunting the business. And for 10 years, while CM Punk disappeared, while he was gone, he absolutely haunted the world of pro wrestling. We chanted his name. We chanted his name night after night when there was zero chance that he was coming back. We followed him to UFC to watch him get his ass whooped twice. That's a different conversation, but we followed him because he was a legend. Similar to how Stone Cold Steve Austin left his impact on pro wrestling with the what chance. Guys just leave their mark on professional wrestling. That's legendary, right? Legends have impactful moments. Austin gave us the iconic Austin 316 King of the Ring promo, right? CM Punk gave us the pipe bomb. And on numerous other occasions, CM Punk verbally sparred with John Cena, Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, moment after moment, promo after promo during a 434-day title run. What is not legendary about that? You're going to have to tell me what's not coming across as hate, Bully Ray. Then he returned to pro wrestling in an event that gave AEW, a company who struggles to break the 1 million viewer mark, he came back and gave us one of the biggest nights in pro wrestling. I watched it, 1.19 million viewers on an episode of Rampage. This is AEW Rampage, not even Dynamite. He came back to WWE at War Games. He set the wrestling world on absolute spiral. These are moments. These are legendary moments. Then just go back. If you want to just point to one moment, one legendary moment, point to 2011, Money in the Bank, him and John Cena in that ring, the contract expiring. He wins the belt. He sits on that barricade. He blows the kiss. That's on most people's short list of top 5 matches all time. So what qualifies as a legend then, Bully Ray? If it's not CM Punk, if that name just doesn't do it for you, what? It's Stone Cold Steve Austin? Sure. It's Hulk Hogan? Fine. It's Ric Flair? Right? It's Undertaker? I don't know. Buddy, I love it or hate it, buddy. Punk is on that short list. It's not just for modern wrestling. We're talking about CM Punk is in the conversation of greatest wrestlers of all time. And that is with a 10-year gap in his resume. Imagine if CM Punk didn't leave. It's like imagining if Michael Jordan never retired. What does CM Punk's career look like? But we're talking about with a 10-year gap, it is still a legendary career. I think what you're hinting at here, Bully Ray, because I heard what you said. I think you're hinting at that if you never carried the company, you're not a legend. If that's the qualifier. If you didn't carry the company, then you're not a legend. Well, I think that takes a lot of guys' names out of that conversation. I think you got to take Dwayne's name out of the conversation. I think you probably got to take Undertaker's name out of the conversation. But the reality to me is you don't have to be a legend. You don't have to have carried the company. All you have to have done is done something that changed or reframed the reality of the wrestling business. And CM Punk has done that on multiple times over, from returns at AEW to Money in the Bank 2011 to the Pipe Bomb to returning at War Games. He's altered the landscape of pro wrestling more than a lot of people have. And so I think Taker, Austin, Rock, Cena, CM Punk, the shit sounds just fine to me, Bully Ray. I'm not sure what you're smoking that makes that name stand out like it doesn't fit. But to me, that name fits just fine in that conversation. Now, this next take from a member of the IWC is more of a monthly check-in I want to do with Ariel Helwani puts out a WWE Power Rankings list, which to me is one of the most IWC things you can do, is to just take it upon yourself to power rank people in pro wrestling. It's not just WWE. He puts it's all of pro wrestling. And I think we'll see quickly why I think this list is very IWC centric, but let's get into it and let's break this list down.
Warning, the following take will offend the internet wrestling community. Viewer discretion is advised.
So Ariel drops these wrestling power rankings, which I think, it's cool. I have no problem with it, but it is, like I said, it's a little IWC-ish to think that you have the authority to drop a power ranking for the rest of the world to kind of pick apart. But nonetheless, it's fun. It gives me content, so I'm not mad at it. But let's start. Let's pull up the men's list here with number 1. The top of the list, plain and simple, he has John Cena number 1. No arguments here. I think that IWC casual fans alike will come to agree that John Cena catapulted himself from off of this list ultimately to the number 1 spot after Elimination Chamber. I think, you'd be crazy. I don't know. I'm sure there's some IWC asshole out there who'll argue Ricochet or Kenny Omega or Will Ospreay should be number 1. But the reality is, if you're anybody who knows anything, John Cena is number 1 on the list. He has Cody Rhodes at number 2, which I think is fine, right? That's the dancing partner of John Cena at WrestleMania. No issue there. They're about to go on to put on one of the biggest main events in WrestleMania history. So you won't get an argument at me from number 2. And number 3 is where I get a little dicey. Number 3 with The Rock. To me, that's a little bit of a stretch. I understand the sentiment coming out of Elimination Chamber, but to me, The Rock hasn't committed to anything post his Elimination Chamber appearance. So I don't know that we can lock him in at number 3 until we kind of know what he's doing. I assume he makes the top 10, but I don't know if it's at number 3 in my book. CM Punk at number 4 is also a stretch to me. Coming off of what he did Monday night, there's parts of me that thinks Punk has to be 2 coming off of Monday night. I know Cody Rhodes is 2 because of situations, but situations are situational. And I think when you get your ass beat and you get your ears smacked up by Travis Scott, your power ranking's not very high. Your relevancy is high, but I don't know if your power within the company is very high. So I think CM Punk, who did take an L in Elimination Chamber, but immediately flipped the script on Monday Night Raw, I find number 4 to be a stretch with the names that are in front of him. Gunther at 5 is just stupid. It's just laughable. Gunther isn't doing anything. He's not moving a needle. Right now, they're having to feed him babyface after babyface after babyface to try to give him some sort of heel heat. They've given him Tozawa. They've given him Otis. And he's not becoming more relevant. To me, when I look at the Jey Uso and Gunther match at WrestleMania, Jey Uso is the A side of that feud. He is the one carrying that match. It's the Yeets, and they have to be careful because they can't do this thing where they just keep beating Jay down week after week. They shouldn't let Jay lose his momentum he has going into WrestleMania. And that's why I think it's silly to have Gunther at 5 and to have right here, he has Jey Uso at 6. I think that's insane to me. I think Jey Uso still on power rankings is higher than Gunther. I think even if he gets his ass beat down every week until Gunther pulls the trigger on being a legitimate heel, I think Jey Uso has to be above Gunther on every list ever put out. Then here's the silly part. This is where it becomes a completely IWC list, and the IWC is going to freak out and they're going to talk shit. But to be honest with you, there's nothing on AEW TV right now that rivals the top 10 men in professional wrestling from WWE. I'm sorry. There's just not. Right now, it just, so it's chicken shit to put IWC guys on this list at 7 and 8. I think that's absolutely chicken shit. I would not put them on a list. If they deserved it, I'd put them on a list. I just don't feel like at this point in time, Adam Copeland, and I know that the IWC has a hard on for Ricochet right now, but I've watched it. It's just goofy. And if you guys are into just goofy, that's fine. But he's not making a top 10 list in on a legitimate list of top 10 power ranking pro wrestlers right now. Seth Rollins at number 9 is, like I said, that's suspect. I don't even respect anything that comes after the IWC AEW guys. And then Roman Reigns at number 10 is a joke. And I love Roman Reigns. I'm a Roman Reigns guy. I'll put the one up. I acknowledge the tribal chief, but he doesn't have a WrestleMania match. He's MIA. He shouldn't even qualify for a power rankings list until he shows back up. Until we even, like, at this point, we have no real confirmation that he's going to be a part of WrestleMania. So I need more. There's no clarity on this list. Some of it seems based on what happened in Elimination Chamber. Some of it seems legacy. What are the rules for Ariel Helwani's top 10 power rankings? But if I go to, if I just was to quickly in the top of my head, throw this list together on myself, I'd go 1, John Cena. I'd go 2, CM Punk coming off of his Monday Night Raw performance. 3, I'd go Cody Rhodes. 4, I'd go Seth Rollins based on, I think him and Punk have set up their match beautifully. I'd go 5, The Rock. I think that's a fitting place to put The Rock. 6, Jey Uso. 7, who was noticeably absent from Ariel's list, is Kevin Owens, who had a hell of a performance at Elimination Chamber. 8, Randy Orton. He's back. His power ranking has, he had a moment, and that raises your power level. I think 9 is a more proper place for Gunther on this list. Like I said, his power ranking's there because he's world heavyweight champion, but he's going to have to show me more to rise up into the upper levels of this list. And then 10, you still got to talk about Jacob Fatu. I still think Jacob Fatu is a guy. And so I have 10 being Jacob Fatu. So let's break down Ariel's women's power rankings here, which he starts off with at number 1, Bianca Belair, quite literally where she should be. That is where Bianca should be. Won the Elimination Chamber. All is right back in professional wrestling in the women's division. Thank you, We Too Deep, for speaking to the wrestling gods and setting this into a correct course. So I'm good with that. I'm assuming that he has Io Sky at number 2. That means this list had to be made, because I wasn't clear if this list was made pre-Raw or post-Raw. But her being number 2, I assume then means that this is a post-Raw list, which is fair. New champion, new world heavyweight champion. I wouldn't even argue if she was number 1 and Bianca was 2. But for my argument's sake, Bianca's going to be number 1. Number 3, Toni Storm, blah, 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 blah. Who cares, right? I don't watch enough Toni Storm. She doesn't interest me that much. I don't think what she's doing is that groundbreaking. I think for AEW, she's fine. She's great. She keeps the AEW neckbeards entertained. So good for her, but I'm not watching AEW, so she's not on my list. Number 4, Jade Cargill. A little bit high for me. Based on one run-in attack with no explanation, like, I think she could climb this list extremely fast based on what happens on SmackDown tomorrow, but based on Elimination Chamber and Monday Night Raw, there's a little bit of a reach putting her that high on the list. Then to jump from there, go Tiffany Stratton at 5, babyface turn complete. I think I'm not mad at this spot. I think 5 is a pretty comfortable spot for Tiffany Stratton. I think she showed well at Elimination Chamber. I had high praises for a lot of people who talk shit about that match. Go fuck yourself. I thought it was a perfect match that set up Tiffany Stratton as a babyface. So I think 5 is kind of the benchmark where I'd put Tiffy right now. 6 being Charlotte Flair. It seems a little high. I'm not mad at it. She hasn't wrestled, but she has cut some decent promos. So number 6 I feel like it's high, but maybe based on the rest of the list, that's okay. Number 7, Rhea Ripley. This is embarrassing. This Ariel should be ashamed of himself. This is complete disrespect to one of the top 2 women in all of professional wrestling. Rhea Ripley is not number 7 on any list that exists. Doesn't matter, coming off of a loss. You cannot penalize her, because I assume she had to be number 1 before this. You can't drop 6 spots based on a loss to Io Sky and on the belief that she will be back in the title picture by WrestleMania. Come on, man. This is just embarrassing. Number 8, Liv Morgan after Elimination Chamber. Once again, I think this is a joke. There's an argument to be made right now that Liv Morgan was the MVP of the Elimination Chamber for all of the women. So to have her at number 8 on a power rankings list is absolutely embarrassing, Ariel Helwani. Liv has stepped up. It is time that we admit she's a major player in the women's division now. A lot of us were wrong, including myself, who counted her out maybe 6 months ago. She has stepped up, and after Elimination Chamber, once again, she was the MVP of that match. It is disrespectful to have her at number 8 on a power rankings list. Number 9, we have Alexa Bliss. I think this is fair. I'm not mad at this. I think Alexa has done enough to make the list. I just think she needs to show more if she wants to move up. And number 10, Chelsea Green. You won't get an argument from me. That's fine, right? No arguments. Chelsea continues to entertain. But if I'm breaking down this list, just off the top of my head, let's flip it around here. Number 1, I'll stick with Bianca Belair. I think that's a fine pick. 2, I'll stick with Io Sky. I think you're good there, Ariel. 1 and 2 makes sense. I think they're interchangeable, 1A, 1B. Number 3, I'm going to go Liv Morgan. I'm going to move her up. You can't have her at 8. Liv is 3. Liv had a hell of a showing. She's still a tag team champion. She's still on an incredible run coming off of all of the Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley stuff. She has not faltered really at all. And so I continue to think she has to be 3 on the list. 4, give me Rhea Ripley, because you can't fall from 1 to 6 or 7. That just doesn't make sense. At number 5, Tiffany Stratton. I think you had her well placed. I think she is kind of the one knocking on the door of getting into the top echelon of the list. At 6, I think that makes more sense for Jade Cargill based on just a run-in. I don't know how you could have her all the way up at 3 in that 3 to 4 spot. That's interesting. 6 feels more comfortable. 7, give me Alexa Bliss. I thought she did well at Elimination Chamber for somebody who's been gone for so long. To come back and just step in rhythm, I think is great. It looks like they're setting up something between her and Roxy, which I'm excited for. So give me Alexa at 7. Give me Charlotte at 8 until she wrestles. I think this is where I think 7 to 8 is where you got to cap Charlotte until she gets in the ring and physically wrestles. We haven't seen her wrestle coming off of this injury. So I don't know if she's the same Charlotte. I can't move her into that top 5 without knowing that she can operate the same way she used to. Being left off of Ariel Helwani's list, absolutely embarrassing here, is number 9, Roxanne Perez, who I think has had 2 phenomenal showings. 1 being at Royal Rumble and 2 being at Elimination Chamber. Definitely deserves to be on this list. Definitely looking like somebody who's going to be a player as we get closer to WrestleMania. Whether that ends up being on the stand and deliver card or whether she figures out how to slide in on that WrestleMania card. Roxy's a player right now. And I said it a couple weeks ago. I didn't understand Roxy. I didn't like Rock. I was indifferent on Roxanne Perez. I get it now. I get it after Royal Rumble. I get it after Elimination Chamber. She does have the it. She has the intangible. The thing I didn't see because I hadn't seen enough of her, it's there. It exists, and I think Roxy will be a player moving forward. And then number 10, I will go Chelsea Green. I think I'm fine with Chelsea at number 10. That makes sense. All right, so let's change pace here a little bit, and let's switch over and let's reach into the casual wrestling mailbag. Question number 1 is Dirty D. What are your thoughts on a possible New Day versus Lucha Bros match at WrestleMania? I'm all in. I've truly enjoyed what I've seen so far from Penta. And I've avidly said throughout my podcasting career that I think the New Day are the greatest tag team of all time. I think it's a shame that the tag team titles are tied up on the War Raiders right now, because I think they would be better suited in a match that featured the New Day. And if it's the Lucha Brothers, more power to that match. If the rumors are true and Phoenix is a free man now, and he can get signed up and ready to go before WrestleMania, I think it's a fun match for the card. I think you can tease it as a surprise. You can drop it a little closer to WrestleMania. A lot of people had the dream of the long shot of Big E returning. That's obviously not a possibility. So I think for the New Day, this is the next best thing. The New Day are a prime example of people who just keep reinventing themselves and establishing themselves as somebody who can't be left off of the card. So I think, to me, the Lucha Brothers are high energy. The New Day, insanely solid in the ring. I don't know that you could get a better tag team match on the card, and that's talking about including all of the tag team wrestlers in all the divisions right now, because while I think SmackDown, the division is fine, I don't think it's exceptional. And on Raw, I think they're really struggling to find an identity. I think that the most intriguing match for most fans would be a Lucha Brothers versus a New Day. If we can get a title into that situation, even better. If not, I'm okay with it just being kind of a fantasy booking match. I'm absolutely okay with that. So yeah, if the rumors are true, I'm all in. I'm sold on it. You can put it on the card. You won't get one complaint from me. Question number 2. Do you really think that WWE is headed towards a Lyra Valkyria versus Raquel Rodriguez match at WrestleMania? Not at all. Not at all. I've never gotten that opinion. In fact, I think that what they're doing right now is Lyra is just defending the title every week as a strategy to get her screen time in front of viewers and to try to build credibility with a new title and establish her as a winner, because she lacks that it and that personality factor that gets you over. Like, the crowd's not reacting to Lyra, so I think they're going the route of open challenge weekly title matches so that they can tout some numbers when they get to WrestleMania, like she's only been champion for 60 days and she's defended the title 8 times. Those are numbers we don't see in WWE as often. So I think that's more of the strategy of what's happening. I think Raquel Rodriguez is just another casualty on Lyra's journey. I still think Becky Lynch, and I know every week I'm like, this is the moment where Becky Lynch returns. I still think Becky Lynch is coming back. It could be to help out Lyra against the Judgment Day, but I foresee that's still where we're headed, because Lyra needs an A side of her match, because she is going to be the B side in whatever match that she's a part of. Like, the crowd just seems uninterested so far in Lyra Valkyria, and I think a little bit of that is Triple H relying too much on her NXT run carrying over, and him not looking into the idea that a lot of casual fans don't carry that energy with them when someone moves up to the main roster. And I see a lot of people saying that they could be setting up Dakota Kai versus Lyra Valkyria at WrestleMania. Man, I think that's that's B-side versus B-side, and those matches don't scream WrestleMania. To me, that screams, if we get B-side versus B-side, that's a SmackDown before WrestleMania, or that's a Raw after WrestleMania match. That is not a match that makes it to the WrestleMania card, in my opinion. I still think the play here is Becky Lynch. Lyra needs a side of the card. They got to put eyes on her match. Lyra isn't bad. Let's establish that right now. She's not bad. She's good in the ring. She just doesn't scream, watch me. So she has to have someone like a Becky Lynch that gives her credibility and sells her to the fans. The IC title is going to need a shot of adrenaline, and Raquel Rodriguez is not that shot of adrenaline. So I don't think that Raquel Rodriguez is the plan for WrestleMania. I still don't believe that Dakota Kai is the plan for WrestleMania either. I think, to be honest, at this point, if for some reason Becky's just refusing to come back, throw Roxanne Perez in there. I think she's the Hail Mary. She's the next best thing that will get eyeballs on a product and kind of highlight NXT the way that I think Triple H is intending to. Question number 3. What did you think about R-Truth's reaction to John Cena's heel turn? I mean, who doesn't love R-Truth at this point? Like, this is what we expect from R-Truth. R-Truth is the most comedically well-timed superstar of all time. And if you haven't followed what R-Truth has said and done in regards to John Cena, I'm not going to go through everything. Go look it up. To paraphrase it, he just doesn't believe John Cena could turn heel. He's baffled. He's in denial. But here's the kicker. Here's what I'll talk about when it comes to R-Truth and John Cena. John Cena's already the biggest heel in the entire business. He doesn't need help. But based on that one moment from Elimination Chamber that elevated John Cena to a level we didn't think was possible, could you imagine a world where John Cena comes out one-on-one with R-Truth and squashes R-Truth? R-Truth comes out, a segment where R-Truth comes out to, John, explain yourself. Tell these people, you're not a heel. You're not a bad guy. They're mistaken. And John just looks him in the eyes, kicks him in the nuts, gives him an attitude adjustment. You talk about heat. The universe would, God himself would turn against John Cena at that point if John Cena turned on R-Truth that way. And I think, to me, ultimately, you have to make this happen. This has to be a moment. I think it would be poetic. And if you want the real fun kicker, if you really want to go Tarantino and bring this thing all the way around, have John Cena squash R-Truth, and then next year at WrestleMania, forget all the dream matches, do John Cena versus R-Truth, and have R-Truth be the guy to retire John Cena at WrestleMania. But yeah, R-Truth is an underrated, underused comedic monster. The fact that he's not a part of every show that he is in the building is insane to me. All right, so now it's the time of the show where I clap back at different exchanges I've had on social media in the last couple of days leading up to this week's podcast. This week's exchange is one I had on TikTok the night before Elimination Chamber, and I thought you guys might enjoy kind of taking a look at it, and I'll expand on my explanation. But here's what the video that it stems from. They're not about building Tiffany Stratton right now. They're about building her championship reign and creating a sympathetic character so that when she does fall, we fall in love with her, and we build up that emotion to want to see her win a big match. Like, they're going to Canada. Trish Stratus is Canada. It guarantees babyface energy, and it immediately is going to make Tiffany Stratton likable. We've seen that in the last couple of weeks, right? And then here is the interaction with the IWC member, right? He says, Tiffy is not a face. She is not great on the mic. I say, she is 100% a babyface, teaming up with Trish Stratus in Canada. He goes on to say, nothing about her says babyface. Yeah, they want her to be a face, but she's not pulling it off good. I mean, that's a direct contradiction to what you just said, but okay, sure, I'll let you go there. I say, you can't just sample the IWC. So many people love the movie Clueless. She appeals to a female fan base. I promise they see her as a babyface. And I'm referring to the fans here. So I understand. I understand that this conversation happened pre-Elimination Chamber, and that not everybody is as clued in as I am on the mentality of what WWE is doing. Not everybody's as in tune to the idea that Tiffy was being turned babyface yet, but the writing was on the wall for anybody who was paying attention. Charlotte is the heel. She's got heel energy. She's got heel heat. It's her natural space. So in turn, Tiffany Stratton has to be the babyface, right? Storytelling 101, guys. It's good versus evil. And I know every time I say this, every time I say storytelling 101, it's good versus evil. Every time I say that, the IWC likes to pretend that wrestling can function in this gray area that has no defined roles. But that's just incorrect. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've taken storytelling classes. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I have an honorary certificate from the esteemed Pixar storytelling online course. There is a reason that Disney movies have villains. They evoke emotions. There is a reason that all Marvel movies have an overarching villain. They evoke emotion. They make you sympathetic to the protagonist. There is a reason that all of those artsy bullshit movies that try to blur the lines on who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, they do terrible in the box office. They don't appeal to the fans, but they get all the awards. And you know why? Because in Hollywood, the awards are the equivalent to the IWC praise. They're complete bullshit. So Charlotte being heel means Tiffany Stratton has to be the babyface. And they added Trish Stratus to secure and make sure that everything went to plan. What's wild to me is the idea that Tiffy can't be babyface, that she's not good enough. Like, they dropped the spoiled gimmick months ago. She hasn't been playing the NXT gimmick in a long time. She's been running more of a Cher from Clueless gimmick for the last few months. So I don't know what the IWC thinks. Sometimes I think the IWC thinks that all of wrestling, every match, every story, every feud is booked for the 30 to 40-year-old male single demographic. And I just think that Tiffany Stratton hits a very different demo than what the IWC is used to. It's a lot like why the IWC doesn't understand Bianca Belair, in that Tiffany can be a role model for younger women. She's an ex-gymnast turned WWE champion. It's a feel-good story. Someone who didn't grow up necessarily a wrestling fan was able to find success in pro wrestling. We all know right now that Tiffy can play the bratty heel, but you don't get it twisted. She is a great candidate to be a strong babyface character in WWE. She gets the pop. And I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, but you can take the pop as a heel. You really can't. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're a heel that's taking the pop, then you're really putting a stress on the babyface in the story. And while it may seem cool to the internet, it's extremely hard to tell a story where the bad guy is the favored person. So it's always easiest just to transition somebody who is getting pop to be the babyface. And don't get it twisted, right? Tiffany is the all-American beautiful blonde, right? Guys take notice of her. Women, they like her. Like, I'm still under the belief that if she loses at WrestleMania, it's to become a sympathetic chasing babyface. It worked for Bianca Belair, guys. It worked for Cody Rhodes. It's worked for Jey Uso. You don't break the formula if it's working. You know, and so for Flamingo here to say that she's not good on the mic, what are you comparing her to? Like, what is the metric for being good on the mic in the women's division? She's still extremely green. She's still very early on in her career. We watched Liv Morgan go through some of these same growing pains. Now, I think that she's already leaps and bounds better than Liv Morgan was in her first title reign, but I don't know what you expect. I don't expect this to be a real long championship run. I expect that she drops the title at WrestleMania, and then she has 365 days to figure it out, get it all together, and come back and have that sympathy going into WrestleMania 42. But Tiffany holds her own in promos. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't watched a promo where I said, oh, Tiffy's bad. And I'm critical about people on promos because I think that's the most important thing. I give a lot of people a pass on the X's and O's in the ring that I will not give them when they pick up a microphone. But the reality is, to stick with the theme of A and B side of feuds, she's the B side of the story with Charlotte, and Charlotte's going to do most of the heavy lifting on the way to WrestleMania. So I'm not sure what you're comparing her to as far as talent goes. Yeah, she's not on the level of Becky Lynch, but I don't think we expect her to be. That's no different than having to admit that Gunther isn't on the level of a CM Punk or a Cody Rhodes. It doesn't disqualify him from being a champion. It's just an admission that certain people need more time to establish who they are and figure out how to work a microphone. Tiffany will come to be a fan favorite. I promise you. Even in the run up to WrestleMania, the crowd will get behind her. They will become sympathetic. And post WrestleMania, if she wins, I think she comes out of there looking extremely strong. But if she loses, the crowd will get behind her and they will be sympathetic towards Tiffany Stratton. The next comment it comes from this video right here. Air23 Gold said, Michael Cole is yelling at you guys that wrestling doesn't matter in WWE. The Rock is making sure you know he's just playing a character. Both are actively killing kayfabe and wrestling along with it. This comment comes from Heath Matlock, and it is, yeah, but Iron Man doesn't turn to the camera in the middle of the movie and tell you he's not really Iron Man. This comment, I got it more than once. This is the one that I happened to find, so you got to be the lucky guy that got his comment posted here. But I got so many people from the IWC trying to tell me that it's not like Iron Man turning in the middle of the movie and saying he's not Iron Man, which is absolutely a ludicrous thing to say. The sad thing to me is that this is what the IWC does, right? It's gross misrepresentation of what is said to fit the narrative that they want to tell. Each episode of Raw and SmackDown is equivalent to a Marvel movie. They just make a ton of movies a year. And so to act like saying something in between two episodes of Monday Night Raw or an episode of Raw and SmackDown, to act like saying something midweek is like turning in the middle of the movie and saying something, that's such a misrepresentation of what's actually happening. The Rock did not come out in the middle of a promo on SmackDown and say, man, I really love playing the final boss. He did it after the show when he was talking to media. It's very different, but this is the part that the IWC can't understand. And they have a hard time wrapping their heads around of this idea that the days of being 100% committed to pro wrestling are over, especially for the part-timers, the guys like The Rock who have brands outside of wrestling. Guys are establishing these brands. They have to clarify. They have to give clarity to different audiences, to different stockholders, to different people on what's happening and what role they are currently playing. He can't be the final boss all the time. He cannot commit 100% of his time on Twitter to being the final boss. He has other obligations he has to fulfill. He has to talk about his tequila company. He has to talk about the Disney movies he's in. He cannot create a safe world for the IWC where he makes you feel all snuggled into your little kayfabe blanket. You guys can say, oh, we understand it's not real. It just makes us feel more comfortable. What does that mean? What level of comfortability do you need to enjoy something that is enjoyable? I don't understand the IWC infatuation with protecting kayfabe, right? Like, you guys comment on one hand, we know it's not real, but then on the other hand, you go, but it can't be but. If you know it's not real, then you have to be okay with the fact that The Rock's going to walk away and say some things that make you, that break the reality. But the business has evolved. Stop. I will continue to use the Marvel line here. Wrestling is like a Marvel movie soap opera. It is the DC. It is the MCU with just a multitude of movies that happen every week. I'm telling you, the evolution has happened. It is an episodic show featuring highly athletic actors. You guys try to throw that at us all the time. The IWC tries to tell us WWE is full of sports entertainers. Then let him sports entertain. And when he leaves, let him talk about how he sports entertains. It's 100% Robert Downey Jr., I can promise you, has talked about the role of Iron Man in between Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2, and that is the equivalent of what I'm talking about. It is not somebody saying something in between 2 episodes of Raw is not like turning to the camera in the middle of the movie. He is not, that where y'all get the misconception. The Rock is only the final boss between the hours of 7 and 10 o'clock when Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown are on TV. Once he walks out of that building, he's not The Rock. He's not the final boss. And so if he talks to a camera, he's not breaking character. That's the part you don't understand. You guys want him to play the role 24/7, 7 days a week, as long as he has some involvement with wrestling, and that's just not the way it works anymore. I am sorry. So this third interaction is a wild one. I'll let you guys check it out. You can watch the video right here. Logan Paul is a better all-around professional wrestler than Ricochet.
I'm not going to stand here and say that Logan Paul is a terrible wrestler on the mic, whatever, because it would be a lie. He is a good pro wrestler when he decides to wrestle. And I know you're saying that, oh, he's about Ricochet, but no, in general, when it comes to him being an all-around great pro wrestler, no, he's not. I mean, sure, he can talk on the mic, wrestle on the ring. That's the easy part, dude. If you have not realized that, the real test is the grind. Can he do this week in, week out, month in, month out, 365 days out of the year? I'm not saying he can't, he just has not done that. Because let's be real here, yeah, he can tell good promos, he can have good matches, but here's the thing, if I had months to prepare for that one promo and one match and only have to worry about that one promo and one match, shoot, I have a good match and a good promo too.
So I'm willing to bet my life. I will bet my last breath that no matter how many months we give this guy, that this dude he goes by Larry, that no matter how many months we give him, I guarantee you he can't cut a half-ass promo, and I'm 100% positive he couldn't wrestle a match. I'm positive this is the delusion of the IWC. It's a constant moving of the goalpost. If you didn't come up through the indie route, we can't like you. If you were an ex-football player or an ex-athlete, we can't like you. It's the same reason they freak out over the WWE 2K25 DLC, because there's some basketball players in it. And God forbid, there are some people not in the IWC who like Tyrese Halliburton. God forbid, there are people not in the IWC who like Pat McAfee, who like Boston Connor, who like Ty Schmidt. God forbid that some of the people who aren't fucking nerds in the IWC like things that didn't develop from the fucking churches and basketball gyms in your local city. Like, it doesn't matter how many matches Ricochet wrestles, he still wakes up and goes to sleep having to be Ricochet. Longevity and frequency do not equate to talent in pro wrestling. The argument that Logan Paul has this absorbent amount of time to prepare to be a pro wrestler is absolutely hilarious. There are other people who have had exorbitant amount of time to get ready for a match and they go shit the bed. Not everybody can be Pat McAfee and Logan Paul and show up and get the job done. Maybe in your fucking twisted mind, that's a possibility, but it's just not reality. And I can promise that not every Joe Schmo or fucking dude named Larry can, no matter how much time we give you, you're not going to achieve this level of success. Logan Paul is a genetic freak. He has wrestled a handful of matches, and you're making the argument that he needs to do it more. The problem is, if he wrestled a schedule like Ricochet, Logan Paul could be the next John Cena. Logan Paul could be the next Roman Reigns. You don't want to see what happens if Logan Paul commits to this 100% of the time. He's able to choose his schedule. And we're talking Logan. Logan's able to choose his schedule because he is a freak of nature, because he can show up inside emotion, wrestle a competent, exciting match that ignites the crowd, and he can leave, and we still give a shit. You literally made the argument in that video that he is a good pro wrestler. You admit that he's a good pro wrestler. It's just the frequency. It's just he needs to wrestle more. But bro, I mean, come on. You went on to say wrestling in the ring and talking on the mic are the easy part. According to whom, brother? Because to me, I watch wrestling on a frequent basis and I see that tends to be what most guys fucking can't get right? Most guys can't talk on a microphone and most guys can't wrestle in the ring, and they're damn sure they can't do both of them. It's the problem, right? For every Will Ospreay that they go, he's so good in the ring, the issue is he can't talk on a microphone to save his life. And for every LA Knight, and this is not a shot at LA Knight, but a guy who can talk on the microphone, maybe he can't do the shit that wows you in the ring. Logan can do it all. So you make a frequency argument, but the problem with that argument is now you got to start bringing other people into this situation where, well, if this guy wrestles a lot, maybe he's somebody we should pay attention to. It's not frequency. The jealousy when it comes to Logan Paul is ridiculous. He has a better look than Ricochet, and he gets a bigger reaction than Ricochet. He's just a genetic freak. Let's not forget, Ricochet's 36 years old, and Logan Paul is 29, guys. 7 years from now, you really want to have this conversation if Logan stays involved in wrestling? You're talking like the grind is what makes you, but it's not. It's the destination that makes you in pro wrestling. One match can change everything for you. One promo can change everything for you. Nobody cares how you get the job done. They just care if you get the job done. How many times did WWE call on Ricochet to wrestle Roman Reigns? They never did, right? How many times Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Logan Paul's fucking resume is deeper in the short, tiny amount of time that he's wrestled. And the point I'm making is it's not to take shots at Ricochet, even though Ricochet went on the internet and took shots at everybody else, so I feel like it's justified. But the argument I'm trying to make is that Ricochet's catching strays because of the IWC infatuation with him. You guys are infatuated with one guy, and on the other hand, the guy who's actually giving you everything you say you like, you're turning and saying, well, he didn't grow up in the churches and in the backroom gym, so he can't be the guy. Like, Logan Paul is already a viable competitor to the biggest names in the business, and you guys are just jealous because, like I've continued to say, he's better than all of your favorite AEW wrestlers when you talk about complete package in pro wrestling. And that's the type of thing that elicits comments like this, right? I got this comment from Shell Morrissey. And Shell Morrissey says, Ricochet is a better, which, here we go, in-ring performer. Got to work on the spelling, guys. He's a better in-ring performer, and Logan Paul can't do the flips, okay? Which I proceed to say, this is after Elimination Chamber, I say, he did a backflip last night. And he did a frog splash off of the pod. I'm pretty sure he can. And it's in-ring. I had to throw my little jab in there. Shell Morrissey goes, anyone can do a frog splash. Fails to say that it's from the top of the pod. And that wasn't a backflip. Go back and watch Elimination Chamber. Right when Logan Paul comes out of the pod, he runs, backflips into a like senton or whatever. I don't know the proper name for the move. But that's what he did. Now, the fact that Shell Morrissey said anybody can do a frog splash and that wasn't a backflip, I placed a challenge out to Shell Morrissey that I'm still waiting on a response video. Post a video of you doing both. Show me a frog splash off your bed, Shell Morrissey. Jump off your bed onto a pillow and show me a proper frog splash that you can do. Because once again, this is the delusion of the IWC when they throw out these grandiose statements of anybody can do that. No. Let's stop saying anybody can. Just because you IWC guys watch AEW and you see a bunch of 5'8" guys with long hair that look like you and they look like people you went to high school with and they're able to do flips, just because you see those guys doesn't mean you could do it. Even though those guys, not the best at what they do, it doesn't mean you could do it. I'm telling you, that was a backflip, Morrissey. It was a backflip. Go watch it again. And I promise you, you show me a backflip, I'll eat my words. But I know I can't do a backflip. And if we're saying it's not a backflip because he didn't land on his feet, then fuck it. do the thing where you jump backwards, flip, and land on your stomach. I'll accept that as well. But like I said, you can dislike Logan Paul. It doesn't change the fact that he's better than your favorite AEW wrestler. All right, let's finish off this week's show with some of the CWC's big takes. This one comes from DJ Wavy D.
Yeah, he's smooth with the flow.
He says, if I was a weekly WWE talent, I think I would be a little disgruntled with all of the Rock and John Cena nonsense, especially if this is going to be a new little faction and they don't put over any younger wrestlers in the group. Yes, they are big names who sell tickets for Mania, but I feel like the rest of the roster can still sell out Mania week without these part-timers coming back around. Wavy, there's something that my college basketball coach used to tell me that has always resonated in everything I've done. And that is, if you don't want your spot taken, don't make it available. You have to step up. You have to make yourself invaluable. And the reality is wrestling is not a charity company. The idea that older wrestlers should step aside and pave the way for the younger talent just because of dated concepts, like these guys have motors now in their 40s and 50s. They can still go. I don't know that CM Punk is winding down like we assumed he was. I don't know that Cena, he's given you an end date, but he warned you he was coming. Like, the reality is we assume there's 14 essential matches on a WrestleMania card. Maybe more, maybe less. I predict there's going to be less this year, but let's just go with the idea of 14 matches, about 28 spots, give or take. Some of them have more, but let's go 28 spots, right? It's not the older wrestlers' job to give up those spots to other people. You have to lock in as a performer. You've got to be one of those top 28 guy/girl performers in the business. There is no charity. I wish we would even do away with the battle royals and the 8-man tag matches that we get at WrestleMania, because I think they eat up time and they're not really necessary. They devalue what WrestleMania is. I think that the reality should be you're either good enough to make it onto the WrestleMania card, or hey, improve and we'll see you next year. You got 365 days to figure it out. But when you talk about guys like Seth Rollins, every year, he solidifies a spot. You talk about guys like CM Punk. He came in, made a name for himself, solidified his spot. Look at New Day. They're guys who continue to recreate themselves, and they're in the conversation for needing a match at WrestleMania. We all knew, for the last 365 days, we all knew that The Rock was going to show up. I know a lot of people got down. I continued to say, not just wait, be patient. He's coming. So we knew that was happening, right? John Cena came out and warned us that he was starting a farewell tour and that one of the stops was going to be WrestleMania this year. So these aren't big shockers to anybody in the business. Part of wrestling is you have to get over. Look at Kevin Owens, right? He's the king of getting over with bad booking. He continues to make himself relevant. So it can't always be the argument, they don't put me in the position to be successful. There are certain people who just refuse to come up and portray gimmicks that are maybe a little goofy, but can get you over. A lot of people just want to be themselves, and they want to it's all about spot wrestling, and it's not about cutting promos and making yourself interesting. There's people who just don't know how to get over. And I agree with you that the rest of the roster could sell out WrestleMania. I don't think that they needed The Rock or John Cena, but it's like all sports. Why win by 2 when you could win by 20? Triple H is going to run the score up as much as possible. WWE, TKO, Triple H, they want this to be massive. And so when you have a cheat code, when you can go find two of the top 5 wrestlers of all time, you can pull them in and put them on the card. You have to do that. You have to do that. And you got to take into consideration too, it's not just the tickets that get sold because of the match. It's the amount of merchandise that will move as well. And TKO can tout those numbers as well. The Superstore is going to be full of the Rock and Cena merch. And the reality is, when that merch sells out, somebody's probably going to buy something else. And so I think it benefits everybody in the organization when these guys come back. Now, the argument that they're not putting over younger talent in the group. Number one, I don't think we know that yet. This seems like the beginning of something big. I feel like this is a corporation-esque building. I could see the Street Profits or some other disgruntled employees latching in and selling their souls and this becoming a thing and this building a group. So I'm not ready to punt on that idea. But I guess what it really kind of boils down to for me is, as a young superstar, how do you view the business? How do you view the company? Do you see yourself as a part of a bigger team? And you go, okay, we brought in 2 veterans. I can learn from them. Let me pay attention. Or do you look at everybody as competition and you go, they took my spot. They came in, they took my spot, and I'm disgruntled. And I think the healthy answer is you see it a little bit of both ways, right? You essentially go, I am part of a team, but I've got to push to make myself better, because theoretically, if I make myself better, then the people around me have to make themselves better. And we grow in the ratings and we become a better overall roster in an entirety. But yeah, I just, if you let guys coast and you let guys hope that they're going to be a part of WrestleMania, and then they cross their fingers and go, man, I'm the 28th guy on this card. I hope a John Cena or a Rock doesn't show up. Like, to me, that's a guy who's just way too comfortable being mediocre. You've got to constantly be striving to get to the top. And I think you have to look at it as like, John Cena and The Rock can't take my spot. I've solidified my spot. And you've got to make yourself important enough that The Rock and John Cena go, we want this guy to be a part of what we're doing. We want this guy to be special. Because the reality is right now, draw me out, Wavy D, draw me out what a faction looks like. Who are the guys that you put into this group, the younger guys that you could get over? Because I'm willing to listen. Just let me know like what that faction looks like. The second take here from the CWC comes from my guy T Squire, and he says,
The Squire's back, he's turning up the flame.
Jay and Gunther are in jeopardy of not main eventing the first night of WrestleMania. Right now, they're arguably the third match in priority. You have Rhea versus Bianca not happening as a one-on-one. That helped them, since it could have had legs to be the main event of one of the nights. But they're still trailing behind Cody versus Cena and the potential Punk versus Seth versus Roman match. In my opinion, those matches simply have too much star power. The Jay and Gunther story isn't coming together enough yet to make me want to see it. You're not wrong, T Squire. You're 100% right here. But I never had Gunther and Jay penciled into a main event slot. I don't think that being the world champion is an immediate qualifier to put you in one of the top 2 matches on the card. And I think we've seen that in the last couple of years. I think last year it was Cody and Roman, Rock and Seth were one of the main events. And then it was, the big match was the second night. And then the year before that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like the Usos versus Sammy and KO, maybe. And then the year before that, I think it might have been Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold. So I don't think that being world champion has ever been a qualifier to get you one of those 2 spots. The reality is, like you said, we still have to figure out where Roman fits into this picture, be it, is it Roman and The Rock, or is it Roman attaching himself to the CM Punk and Seth Rollins match? But I'm with you. I don't see any world where Roman Reigns isn't main eventing one of the 2 nights of WrestleMania. So like I said, whether it's against The Rock or whether it's against Seth and Punk, I feel like that's who gets night 1's main event. I don't think it's in question. I really don't. I don't think that's in question. I see Jey Uso and Gunther fitting in on the night 1 card. I think it'll be a decent match. It's going to be a match that has a hell of an entrance and a hell of a long-ass celebration afterwards, but I don't have a lot of expectations for what happens when the actual bell rings. I think it's more about the party that surrounds it. I do, like I said, I have this as a night one match because I think WWE knows that if you have this on Saturday night and WrestleMania is over and everybody disperses to the clubs in Las Vegas and Jey Uso has just become world champion, that every nightclub that has wrestling fans in it will be requesting the Jey Uso theme, and the optics will be absolutely crazy with the amount of people doing this shit right here in the fucking club and the yeets and things like that. My biggest issue right now with WrestleMania is going to be the pacing, because there's a number of high energy matchups that we're looking at, from like Bianca and Io with Rhea, Charlotte and Tiffy, Seth Punk, Roman, Cena, Cody. Does The Rock fit it? Like, you don't want to drain the crowd. You have to have a certain amount of matches that bring people back down to reality. But I can see a real possibility where Triple H limits the number of matches to like 10, which is crazy for this year's WrestleMania. I could see 5 night 1, 5 night 2, and I could see a lot of people being left off this card. So yeah, I don't think that the World Heavyweight Championship automatically qualifies you for WrestleMania. It's been that way for a while, so I think you're onto something there. The next take here comes from We Too Deep.
We too deep, no way out now.
We Too Deep says his big takeaway is Triple H is pulling shit out of a hat right now because he's tired of the fans saying WWE is too predictable. He can't book and is relying on shock TV right now to keep everyone interested. This style of booking can't work long term. Hope you all enjoy the feast he gave you at Elimination Chamber, because that's all the cooking trips will be giving you until Money in the Bank. We Too Deep, you are my brother, you are my guy, we agree on a lot of shit. You saved my Bianca Belair match at WrestleMania, but I will have to tell you right here, I wholeheartedly disagree with this take at this point. This has always been the plan, Deep. We are on the course. This is the direction that Triple H has wanted to go for the last 365 days. Everything that he's done has just thrown us off of the scent of The Rock coming back and John Cena turning heel. I think that he has seen this as the big aha moment for WrestleMania for a long time. I think at least since Bad Blood, when The Rock came out and gave us the 3, I think this was all in the works. I think, it's this is the script. This is the script. And where I'll agree with you is that Triple H is booking 2 big events and big moments. Where I disagree is I don't know that that's a bad thing. I think it could be said that you have to sacrifice one for the other to excel. If we want these big shocker surprise moments that have been so much fun, then every little detail of every other match in between can't always take us where we want to go, because like breadcrumbs, they tend to lead the smarter fans into being able to predict what's happening in wrestling. I will argue that these big feasts that you speak of, they are enough to keep us full. They are. This is effective. This is effective booking, is that Triple H feeds us and then he lets us go until he's ready with the next dish. To me, this is the same formula that WWE's used with Cody Rhodes for the 2 years that he built up towards Roman Reigns. And this is the same formula they used with the Bloodline, where it would feel like we'd have these massive moments with Roman Reigns, then he would disappear and we'd all start to murmur and rumble. And why are we getting Solo Sikoa and Jey Uso? What are we doing? Roman would show back up and we'd forget all about the shit that happened in between. We're like, oh my God, it's the greatest match we've ever seen, right? It's these big matches that give us the energy to get through the breadcrumbs. And wrestling fans, unfortunately, whether it's a good thing or not, we have very short memory. The truth is that this booking style that Triple H is using is the most realistic to other combat sport companies, right? UFC typically gives you one big meaty match for every numbered event. Then they fill out the rest of the card with a lot of shit that may not make sense. It's just, here's some shit to entertain you until you see the main event. We can't fill every card with 5 banger matches, but here's the problem. This is the problem where I want to poke a hole in what you're saying is, if you feel this way leading up to Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania, I think we have to look back at like the last 5 premium live events and poke holes in those events. Because when I look back at those events, I can only remember the big moments. I don't remember the other bullshit that we complained about in the moment, right? We look back at Elimination Chamber, we got the heel turn, right? So that one's good. We look back at Royal Rumble, we got Alexa Bliss, I remember, and we got Jey Uso winning. That's all I remember. I don't remember the Motor City Machine Guns bullshit and the stuff like that. It doesn't stick around. Triple H knows we forget, right? Go back even farther, go to War Games. We got the Bloodline Civil War and we got CM Punk with his favor. That's all I remember. You go to Crown Jewel, that gave us these big ass gaudy belts that we all laughed at, right? You go to Bad Blood, that was CM Punk and Drew McIntyre in a cage match that we all herald as one of the best matches of all time. And we got The Rock coming out and holding up the 3 fingers, right? And you can keep going. You go Bash at Berlin was a strap match between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. It was Randy Orton and Gunther in a showdown, right? We only remember the big moments. When we look back at the premium live events from the previous year, we judge them on the biggest moment of the night, right? SummerSlam last year, we all remember positively, but I don't remember a lot of what went on. I just know that the ending was fairly decent. Like I said, we just remember the big moments. The little day-to-day stuff feels good in the present, but we forget it so fast that you have to ask, how important is it really? Are you going to remember 365 days from now what happened in the women's IC title match at WrestleMania 41? If it's not Becky Lynch, right? If it's just Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai, most casual wrestling fans are going to have an interest, a fleeting interest in that match during WrestleMania. It's going to get them to the main event, but they're not going to talk about it afterwards. Same thing can be said about the men's and women's US title, the men's and women's IC title, all of the tag team title. Those are just crutches. Those are ways to make matches seem important as we get to those 2 and at most 3 moments that our brains hold on to from a premium live event, right? And already it's shaping up as WrestleMania 41 we'll have a John Cena and Cody Rhodes moment, right? We're going to have some match that has Roman Reigns. That will be a moment. We're probably going to have Jey Uso yeeting all over Allegiant Stadium. That will be a moment we remember. So I think at a certain point, Triple H knows that the payoff from these mid-card matches, it's not necessarily worth having to pay attention to every little booking detail when it comes to this stuff, right? When we get, the year moves so fast, but we get around to December and we do another slapping meet end of the year awards, we're not going to talk about those matches. We're not going to talk about the mid-card stuff. We're going to talk about the biggest matches that ended the show. And I'll go even farther. It's the matches that end the show that we remember, right? It's the blackout moment. When the screen goes black, what do we remember? That's what we hold on to. And at the end of the year, that's what we talk about. And that's why I found it fun to be on your podcast this year for the year-end awards, because you had some AEW guys, you had people who very vastly different walks of life when it comes to wrestling fandom, finding myself to be the most casual and representing the casual wrestling fan base is that a lot of times you talk about things, I go, I don't remember that. I don't hold on to that memory, right? This idea that Shawn Michaels is cooking all the time is because he books in the style that you like, which is consistently good matches every night. But he doesn't have, it's not the high highs and the low lows. And to the casual wrestling fans in those black screen moments, we want the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. We want the emotional roller coaster that wrestling is, whereas NXT is a little safer in that it is just, hey, here's 7 great matches. And I don't think as casual wrestling fans, that's what a lot of us are looking for. So I understand not liking the style of booking, but I think it's a little bit unfair to say like he's pulling this out of his ass. I genuinely think this is the plan. I genuinely think he doesn't sweat the middle of the card. I genuinely think more now than ever, he's not interested in the IWC's opinion. I genuinely believe somebody got into Triple H's ear and said, you're booking for ratings, you're booking for the casual fans, you're booking for TKO, give us the highest of highs. That's what we're looking for. Give us the Netflix moments. Give us The Rock. Give us John Cena. Give us the higher up the mountain you can take us. Take us up there, even if that means that we're going to have some times where we slip into some valleys. And you know what? We'll forget about all of those hardships in the valleys as we climb back up to the mountain, to that next mountain peak, and we set that new standard for what wrestling could be. The last take from the CWC comes from my guy, BMaster84. B-Master says, my big takeaway is that Raw was good and confusing at the same time. It's clear Triple H loves his NXT people and seems to push them more than Vince's people. He says he doesn't see color, but he's a damn liar because he sees black and gold. B-Master, hit me up in the Discord once you hear this and let me know what part of Monday Night Raw was confusing. Because I'm going to go off of assumption here, and if I'm wrong, then you let me know I'm wrong. But I'm going to assume that when you speak on him seeing black and gold, you have to be talking about, I assume, Lyra Valkyria and Io Sky and maybe the War Raiders. That's the parts I'll assume. I'll make assumptions here. Now, I don't love any of those three. I'm not a big fan of the black and gold or just the NXT products in general. I don't think they're the biggest parts of Monday Night Raw right now. I think that, though, when you look at Monday Night Raw this past week, I thought it was a very effective show at what it needed to do in each segment of the night, starting with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. I think CM Punk came out, set the world on fire, got the show started right, especially coming into a show where you weren't really going to further the John Cena story. You were going to tell us about it 100 times, but you weren't going to further it. You needed CM Punk to immediately get everybody's minds off of that situation. I thought he did a very good job of that. I thought that Seth Rollins coming out, them continuing to clash and fight and go at each other all night, I thought that was great. I think it set up that we're getting two alpha dogs at WrestleMania that don't like each other, and they're going to throw down, they're going to throw hands, and it's going to be just a fun, aggressive fight. You throw in on top of that Becky Lynch decided to tweet out about not being the one that needs to come get her man. And I think this match screams drama. I think this match, this set up exactly what it needed to do. That's a check for me to start the show. So then you move to Otis and Gunther, which I talked about earlier in the show, but I'll kind of break it down again. I think the only way to give Gunther heat at this point is you got to just feed him babyface after babyface. And if that's what you got to do, it's what you've got to do. Gunther's taken down Tozawa. He's taken down Otis. He's continued to terrorize Jey Uso. Like, they're just going to feed people to Gunther to try to give him the best opportunity to generate a little bit of heat going into WrestleMania. I think, like, once again, with Gunther, it's just missed opportunities as far as I'm concerned. It was on the tray to look at Otis and call him fat, to say you don't look like a wrestler, to go to cross over that line. Because my issue with Gunther continues to be he's the PC heel, right? He's politically correct. He will walk all the way up to that line, but he just will not cross over to being the heel that we want him to be. He won't call Otis fat. He won't say the thing that's slightly in it. He won't give us the MJF moment. And I think that's dangerous for a heel, to have a heel that has like such high moral values and I know Gunther, that's kind of Gunther's, position is he is like the all about strictly wrestling, but I think you got to cross that line every so often. But I still think feeding him baby faces is an efficient means to getting us to where we need to be with Jey and Gunther. Then you go Lyra versus Ivy. Once again, I stated this earlier. This match was just to strengthen the title for WrestleMania. Like, they're gonna give Lyra as many title defenses as they can give her before they have to actually sell the story of what is official for WrestleMania. Raquel Rodriguez is just the next victim. I still believe Becky Lynch is coming. I don't want it to be Dakota Kai. I stated I'm okay with it being a Roxanne Perez. Either way, the plan here, strengthen the title because Chelsea Green is going to be the more comedic, less defending champion. Chelsea Green doesn't need a reputation. She can be entertaining without it. I think because Lyra Valkyria lacks character and lacks personality, she needs the prestige, and that's why you're going to see Lyra Valkyria win consistently up until WrestleMania. Is they have to build a level of credibility for her. We got a Kaiser promo. Kaiser getting airtime to me is always a good thing. I think he's extremely good. Penta being a part of that promotes Penta. It's pretty simple. I think it's pretty simple to understand. These are both extremely valuable assets to WWE, and if you don't have a match for them, this is a great way to get them on air. The thing that I'm maybe not confused about, but it tends to bore me is the War Raiders. I don't find them to be interesting. I thought the War Raiders and the Creeds, it's a fine match. I got no issue with it, but it's just vanilla. The War Raiders just don't do it for me. Maybe they do it for other people, and not everything's meant to be for me. I would much rather have the Creeds as champions right now, but maybe we're waiting for WrestleMania. Like I knew once I'd seen it spoiled that EO was going to be winning the world championship. I knew in that moment that you weren't going to have 2 title changes on this show. So like it's going to continue to be the War Raiders until WrestleMania. That may be where we're getting a switch up. But I think, once again, the more interesting part of this segment was that we got the cutaway to Chad Gable. And just want to go on record that I called it. I told Wavy D on an episode of Wavy Mania that Chad Gable was clearly going to transition into a lucha. And I'm 100% in the belief that there's an American lucha mask in that box, and that Chad Gable is going to pull a lucha style match at WrestleMania, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. We got Braun Breaker and Finn Balor. I think maybe this is the plan for WrestleMania here. I think that we may get a Finn Balor versus Braun Breaker match, which features all of Judgment Day going into WrestleMania. I think there's a part of me that believes this might be the last chapter for Finn Balor. As far as Judgment Day goes, I'd like to believe that Finn goes against Braun Breaker. Braun just absolutely destroys him. Finn is crushed. Finn disappears. Judgment Day is completely lost. And the next night on Monday Night Raw, the Judgment Day is looking for a new leader. And Malachi Black shows up to take over the Judgment Day and once again gives a resurgence to a Judgment Day who just won't seem to go away. But I think, to me, that's a high possibility of what could happen there. So it makes sense. And then last you have Io and Rhea, which is what I assume you're confused about, but this makes sense if you really think about it. They're not ready to pull the trigger on a straight up Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley match. They're going to test the water. Now I've seen unsubstantiated reports that Rhea Ripley could be out at WrestleMania. Once again, I believe this all to be deception. I think that they either hold off and Rhea is a surprise entrance at Mania in the moment for this massive explosion of a pop. More likely she figures out how to get back into the match in the next couple weeks. But ultimately, I predict that this leads to an interaction at WrestleMania between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair in a story that continues on to Backlash, and it will continue all the way through SummerSlam, and we'll get the proper really kind of payoff at SummerSlam to Bianca and Rhea. The question here to me is, what's interesting and makes this intriguing to me, are they willing to have Bianca lose a triple threat match at WrestleMania? I don't know what that does to her streak. Is her streak purely based on one-on-one? Or would this ultimately end the streak? Because I could see a world where Io retains and moves on because Rhea and Bianca are so focused on each other. But it's either that or Bianca wins the title and we go on and Io once again kind of flaps in the wind trying to figure out what to do with her. But I don't think it's confusing. I mean, I think this appeases all of the Io stans who like need her to be in a big match. Because I don't know if you paid attention there, B-Master, but she got a great crowd reaction in a match against Rhea Ripley, which is crazy based on the fact that Rhea Ripley's not a heel. She is a tweener at best, a baby face. And so for Io Sky to get a loud, pronounced chant during that match definitely kind of woke me up and was like, what am I missing with Io Sky that I'm not connecting to her on that level? So I would say I thought it was a super effective Monday Night Raw. Like I said, let me know in the Discord or in the comments what you found confusing so we could converse about that a little bit, because I'd be interested to see which part of it you didn't really like. But that's it for this week. Make sure to join me in the battle to take on the IWC, because they will come for us in the comments. The CWC faction is stronger when we stand together. Make sure to tag me in any wild IWC takes you find, or post them in the Discord so we can unleash casual hell on them together. Like, subscribe, and share this video with any other potential casual wrestling fans. I am the notorious Dirty D, and this is the Casual Wrestling Podcast.
Head down, we're ready to rumble. The casual pod, don't stumble. No peace, no rest in this fight. Breaking it down on